The Horizon franchise from Guerrilla Games is one of the most mysterious IPs to ever exist. This is because gamers within the PlayStation community absolutely adores this game, and people outside the PlayStation community have little to no respect for this IP. I consider myself one of the biggest defenders of Guerrilla's Horizon franchise. I played it back in 2017 when it first came out, and I admit that it didn't really connect with me initially. And I forced myself to enjoy it and reached a point where I was basically intoxicated by this game. And I also ended up getting the Platinum Trophy. That being said, if you've watched any of my recent reviews, you guys know how I have continuously criticized the idea of remastering Horizon Zero Dawn for the PS5. The original release from 2017 to this day is up there with one of the best looking open world games ever. Fast forward to October 31st, 2024, we finally got the remaster, and gladly, it's a $10 upgrade if you own the game. So I bought it, beat it, and got the Platinum Trophy on the remaster as well. And man, it's so hard to hate this game. To understand why the PlayStation community and I unconditionally love the Horizon franchise, we have to go back to 2017. Horizon Zero Dawn was an open-world action-adventure role-playing game that was released exclusively on the PS4. It was a wow moment for the PlayStation fanbase because you don't get a game of this stature exclusively on a console. Yes, you have your exclusive first-person shooters, such as Halo and Killzone. Yes, you have your exclusive third-person narrative-driven action-adventure like Uncharted or The Last of Us. Or you have your racing games like Gran Turismo or Forza Horizon. But you don't get this AAA 50-hour-long open-world RPG action-adventure that is an original IP exclusively on a console. The main concept of this particular remaster is to make it on par with its sequel, Horizon Forbidden West, which by the way is one of the best looking games I've ever played. So let's start there, the visuals and the presentation. As it is on par with 2022's Horizon Forbidden West, this remaster is now one of the best looking games out there. The visuals and the presentation here is unmatched, and I could make an hour-long video just talking about what an eye candy this game is. It is like a playable Pixar movie. I don't sprint in this game most of the time because I just want to take in the graphical masterclass and the insane art style of this game. The animations when you move her around the post-apocalyptic world that it is, and how her hair, clothes, and body realistically reacts is astonishing. I do also want to give a shout out to the DualSense's haptic feedback in this regard, how every footsteps throughout the world can now be felt with this remaster. Not to mention, Guerrilla Games is not afraid to crank up the saturation and the vibrance of its colors, unlike many games that come out nowadays. There is not one moment in my 45-hour-long playthrough where this game looked ugly. I truly feel this game didn't need a remaster, but now that it has, it is stunning. There is something about the god rays and flares in the Horizon franchise where it forces me to do the E3 camera pan hundreds of times throughout my playthrough. It truly feels like a next generation experience. Even the haters of the Horizon franchise appreciates this element of the game. Just the scale of what Guerrilla Games is doing in terms of its visuals and presentation. Not only in gameplay, by the way, it is impressively consistent from the gameplays to the cutscenes, to the conversations with other characters, and all these visual features and techniques of the Decima engine makes it one of the most detailed and breathtaking open world titles to date. It is so detailed with the amount of particle effects, the draw distance, the vegetation, the textures, the lighting, the colors, the volumetric natural effects. There's so much going on at any given moment that it feels like the game is rendering far more than my eyes could handle. When I first started playing this remaster, I kept going into photo mode because it looks that good. Shout out to the photo mode as well. It is one of the best amongst the PlayStation exclusives. This unmatched presentation also stretches out to the character design. The characters look astounding during cutscenes and when you are in a conversation with them. Their eyes and facial animations draws you in, which results in some super immersive character interactions. I did find one issue here though. Some of the lip sync felt off, which I didn't notice in the original game, but I don't know, it's been 7 years since I last played it. Not to mention their clothing. As they belong to different tribes, they dress differently, and we get to see some really diverse choices of clothing and face paints. And with the power of the PS5, these tribes are so lived in and atmospheric in the remastered compared to the original. Meridian, for example, is so much more impressive than I remember it from 2017. It's more detailed and more NPCs to be seen. It is a very noticeable difference compared to the original. You can also customize Aloy to your heart's content. Same applies for the enemies. The designs of the machines in their attempt to replicate real-world animals truly stand out from the rest in this dangerous world. Talking about the character design, our protagonist Aloy, of course, looks the part. They made her look similar to how she looks in Horizon Forbidden West. I don't care what the internet says, I love how Aloy looks in both games. She looks gorgeous, and it is backed by amazing voice acting by Ashley Birch.
Oh, this is the bedhouse? With you standing guard, I figured it was the latrine.
Your very presence here.
The only negative in the visual presentation of this game, and also the sequel, is the janky animation that can be seen at times, and we will talk more about it later in this video. To conclude, the visuals and the presentation is one of the strongest elements of this remaster. Well, to be fair, this whole IP. The minor issues here and there in no way affect what they're doing here visually. It should be noted that both fidelity and performance mode on the base PS5 looks and plays great. I'm playing in the performance mode on a 50-inch 4K HDR TV and I can't tell the difference. I still don't understand how a game that looks this good can consistently provide 60 FPS gameplay in the performance mode. It is such an achievement.
I know!
Now let's talk about the story and the premise. The game takes place in the post-apocalyptic United States, where machines have taken over the Earth due to technological development. Diverse prehistoric groups with differing degrees of technological advancement comprise the human race. Our protagonist, Aloy, at birth, belonged to the Nora tribe, but was later outcast and raised by another outcast, Rost. The premise of the story hooks you from the get-go. There was a desire in me to know more from minute one. You want to know why she is an outcast. You want to know what has led to the apocalypse in this world. You want to know where these ever-evolving machines came from. Both the player and the protagonist share the same curiosity of wanting to know more. This perfectly sets up the story of what's to come. Coming of age, Aloy participates in the Proving, which she wins, but that comes at the cost of losing his father figure, Rost. She was then anointed as a seeker by the Nora tribe.
Aloy, by the holy grace of the One Goddess, we hereby anoint you a seeker of the Nora tribe.
From then on, it is a story of uncovering hidden secrets, mysteries within the world, and understanding what has led to this aggression of robots on the human race. The narrative from the outside can be deemed as typical science fiction mumbo-jumbo, but there is a deeper and engaging story underneath that this game tells, and the credit for that goes to the world that Guerrilla Games was able to establish in this game. It is a whole package, and that is what I love about it, because everything comes together as one. I highly recommend, if you are interested in this game, do a completionist run, because everything within this world is connected. Whether that be the main plot, the side quests, the tall necks, the cauldron, it all feels compelled to tell something deeper through the exploration. I don't want to spoil much about the story in this video because I think a lot of people will be playing this game for the first time because of the remaster or the eventual television series that might come in the future. The only issue with the story, however, and the whole Horizon franchise is that the characters in this world are some of the most cringiest, boring, and lifeless bunch of individuals that I've ever seen. I have little to no emotional attachment to any of them. Let's start with our heroine, Aloy. who is an exception in this regard because I absolutely love her. And she is one of the sole reasons as to why the narrative side of things does not fall apart because she is doing so much heavy lifting.
All you did that day was make me stronger. Just wait. I'll show you tomorrow.
I love the character of Aloy, and I don't care what the haters have to say. She's like an unbeatable superhero, but you still root for her because of her origin and how she was outcast from her tribe and how she's always trying to do the right thing to help others. She has this charisma about her, and as weird as it might sound in contrast to the consensus, I find her witty at times.
I did say not to break anything, didn't I?
She's also brave, feisty, and in your face. Defeat is not a word you'll find in her dictionary.
Why did I bring you here?
Not to answer questions.
But the problem with Aloy is that she's too nice and perfect and is always doing the right thing. This makes her very one-dimensional. As I mentioned before, I consider her a superhero, but even superheroes are flawed and have vulnerabilities that make us relate to them. Aloy lacks that, and I think the sole reason for it is, as I mentioned before, is the characters in the supporting roles, because everyone around her is robotic and not challenging her enough. There's not one character other than Aloy that I have any feelings for, and that is the biggest problem with the writing in these games. That is something they have to work on in the third game, because even the 2022 sequel didn't improve that. At gunpoint, I might say Rost is another good character, but he is hardly there. Silence, Erend are fine characters, but they're just boring and kind of non-human. But other than that, it's a bunch of ass lickers to be found in the main plot.
Just a weird old jewel he sticks on his face. I mean, no offense. It looks great on you.
Shout out to the performances though. They're very well directed and voice acted. There's little to no chemistry between the characters in major plot points in the story. Not to mention, the big story elements are told through holograms and data points. It's really hard to care about. But while exploring the world, you will come across other good characters. For example, look at this conversation between one of the characters in the hunting grounds and Aloy.
I know I can.
Excellent. I like your spirit.
You're awfully friendly.
Well, you know, it gets lonely in the wilds after a few weeks. Terribly lonely, in fact.
What about your friend over there?
Oh, he doesn't count. Barely ever opens his mouth, and when he does, nothing interesting comes out.
See how both characters in this scene have a chemistry in this conversation, and you just don't see much of that in the main plot. There's a real lack of memorable characters, and that just brings down the story. Now let's talk about the real meat of Horizon Zero Dawn, and that is the gameplay. This is where I had the most fun, and what made this great game into an intoxicating game that I just can't stop playing. I'm not kidding. I have had 7 to 8 hour-long sessions every time I hold the controller in my hand. So the gameplay of Horizon can be broken down into 3 parts: combat, traversal, and platforming. Let's start with the combat. The foundation stems from Aloy's focus, which lets you scan machines and show their strength and weaknesses from elements such as fire, shock, frost, acid, etc. So before any confrontation with the machines, it forces a sense of strategizing in the players. You strategize what element would create a chain reaction in the machine, or what traps you can use in the combat fields, or what machines have usable weapons attached that you can use against them. There's so much depth to the combat, not only in systems, but also visuals, with insane particle effects that make it so immersive. When you finally bring down some of those behemoth machines, it feels so good, man. So good. The weapons in your disposal as well. They're some of the most creative I've ever seen, whether that be the different bow and arrows, the trip caster, the rope caster, the blast sling, etc. They're so satisfying to use and have so many options, including modifications of the weapons you own. And the combat against the machines is not easy. I'm playing the game on normal difficulty and it was hard AF. Trying to level up my character or unlock new skills was one of the meta games for me within the game. Just making my weapon stronger, completing the hunting round so that I can get the best weapons in the game. It is amazing and I think is the biggest selling point of this game. And I was absolutely thrilled to play it again and again. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. I have already talked about how there is a jankiness when you're fighting multiple enemies in a varied environment. And what lets it down even more is how the camera reacts in these circumstances, and how Aloy just interacts with uneven surfaces. That was not improved in the sequel Horizon Forbidden West either. What was improved in the sequel, by the way, is the melee combat, which is just horrible here. The only option there is your bow and arrow, and the spear, and it's a mess. Every combat moment against human enemies is messy and broken. I tried to complete bandit camps and stuff using stealth and I haven't succeeded once, and it is boring to use stealth. It is way more fun to go in all guns blazing. The next gameplay element is the traversal, which is very half-baked, and the whole way through I missed the glider and flying mounts from Horizon Forbidden West. You can only override a couple of machines, which is not the problem specifically, but traversing does not feel enjoyable and it's very flawed. But I do like the platforming a lot in this game. It reminds me a lot of Naughty Dog's Uncharted games. You don't have much control over it, but I love how she smoothly animates and grabs onto ledges. Climbing tall necks or completing the collectibles such as the Banuk figurines and vantage points for the Platinum Trophy were very enjoyable. So overall, the gameplay is very solid and it is what heightens this game to another level and what I absolutely adore about this game. This is why I have defended this game with all my life. There we go then, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. It is a special game and is a standout open world title to have come out in the last generation. I do believe that it deserves a lot more respect than it actually got over the years, and part of the reasons for it is bad timing. Horizon Zero Dawn originally came out in 2017, within 7 days to the release of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Same applies for Horizon Forbidden West, which had to compete with Elden Ring on its release. So this franchise literally had to compete against two of the greatest open world games in the last decade. That has hurt Guerrilla Games' crowning achievement, which is this particular IP. It takes the Ubisoft formula of open world but adds more depth to the whole thing and creates this interconnectivity between the plot, side quest, errands, collectibles, etc. As for the remaster, it is a great port that now looks and plays on par with Horizon Forbidden West. If you have already played and owned the game, it is a $10 upgrade and I highly recommend it for those players. It is a great new way to experience this. If you haven't played it and don't own the game, it is priced at around $50. I don't recommend it for you guys. I recommend you buy its sequel, Horizon Forbidden West, which is a lot more feature-packed game and you don't have to deal with much of the issues that Zero Dawn has. Don't worry about the story, just get lost in the gameplay and the world. If you liked this long review of Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, please consider liking and commenting on this video, and subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. Do check out some of the other videos I've reviewed on the channel. I am a small YouTuber, help me reach 1000 subscribers to monetize my channel. Thank you again, RexBlaze signing off.
How nice of you to finally drop by.